Flauta envolvente que mexe com a mente. Quem tá presente, as novinhas salientes. Fica loucona e se joga pra gente. Eu falei assim pra ela. Vai com o bumbum tam tam. Vem com o bumbum tam tam tam.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Milk Podcast. We're back after a fucking break. But today I'm joined by Trey and my friend Riley. Pretty cool dude. He's pretty big in like the car scene. He drifts. He's got a little drift car, little 328i,
Yep.
right?
It's an E36 328i.
Hell yeah. 97.
97. Man, you know everything.
I checked.
I think very impressive.
I looked you up before just to be sure.
I just had to make sure, but yeah, I mean it's a fucking sick ass car. You probably saw it because I'm gonna put like a little clip on the front of this, but the car that you saw is his car. And yeah, man. So how long have you had this car?
So I have had the car about 2.5 years. I picked it up in January of 2022, and since then I've been drifting it. I've been learning, growing my skills, doing everything I can to push myself further and further into drifting and becoming a better driver.
Were you drifting before you got the 320?
I'd say yes and no. I was drifting on the sim before that, but as for like real life, no, I don't think I had ever tried it before. I didn't have a car that was set up for it.
Did you just like go straight into like UMC, or were you just like drifting with your buddies first, and then they're like, oh, you should probably go to the UMC and learn how to do that?
Well, so I have a friend, his name's Caden, and he also has an E36, and I think he had it for at least a year or two before I got mine. So he was already out at the track, Utah Motorsport Campus, drifting, and so he was kind of like the guy that I'd go to with all my questions and ask, hey, what do I need to get started? So he helped me kind of get things going, figure out what car I wanted to get, and then getting out there, and he taught me everything. But
That's fucking sick.
yeah, learning it was just through Assetto Corsa on the simulator, and I'd go out in parking lots and stuff.
Did you ever get yelled at a parking lot, like, what the fuck are you doing? Or the cops called or anything like that?
Surprisingly, no. I'm very careful when it comes to that stuff. So I would go out to public parking lots, church parking lots, but I'd only hit like 1 or 2 donuts, quick skid around the corner, and then I leave because I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to have to like explain to someone what I'm doing, and I don't know. That's just not fun.
That's a smart way to do it. Shit.
I remember when we put in your rear diff, and we were like pinned 5th gear going like 80.
Yep.
And we were coming back to the house, and he just was like, watch this. And he just randomly pulls into a parking lot and just starts drifting around. And I thought we were just like fixing something. I didn't know he was starting to drift at that point. And I was like freaking out. And then we just leave, and he was like, nothing happened. We just drove back to the house, parked it, and he was like, oh yeah, like I want to start drifting. And I was like, I kind of figured that out. But that was when almost you first got it.
Was that your first time like in his car and him drifting
Yeah,
it?
like
Shit, bro, he's fucking good. Like he's.
if you watch his YouTube videos, I'm in the passenger seat screaming at him the whole time, like that was perfect, textbook, like just how I'm screaming at him the whole time. I love drifting with him. It's so fun.
The first time I've like ever really been in kind of like that drifting was when we did the photo shoot, and like the first time
The
we
one
did a photo
with
shoot.
Luis or? Oh
No,
no.
the one with Morgan.
Yeah.
The first
Okay.
one.
Yeah. I remember that.
And we were at this multi-level parking lot, and we were on the top, and you're like, yeah, like it's a drift car, and like, yo, you want like to get in and like do like a turn or something? Or no, I think you went around, and I was like, oh, I thought you were gonna drift that curve or something, and you're like, oh, I will. And then you go back and you fucking drift the shit out of it, and I'm like, I can't believe you're doing it, because you're on the top floor. If you fuck it up, you're like falling off the building, and you're gonna like,
Yeah, that's true.
We were talking about like kind of sketch drifting. We were talking about like I asked him if he was ever gonna go drift the canyons, like open road drifting the canyons, and he was like, my more concern is like falling off the edge of a canyon, you know. But his concern, he's like, I'm good enough. I can stay on the road. That's no problem. He's more worried about just oncoming traffic.
Yeah, I want to make sure that like it's safe. I want to be able to shut down the road, make sure that there's not going to be some family or some guy coming down from the resort just like driving down the road and I'm in the corner. Like it's hard once you're already going to be able to correct around a car that you're not expecting. So I want to make sure that like there's spotters, the road is shut down at least temporarily, and that it's safe for everyone else. Because I know that with my skill, I'm not gonna say I won't go off the edge, but I shouldn't.
Yeah. What is that? Some I've heard that people do that, like they drift canyons and shit. How do they normally do that? Do they shut the roads? Like, do they get permission?
Typically they will get permission. I mean, some people, they're a little crazier than I, and they'll just go out late at night when they know that no one's really going to be out there. Mm-hmm. There's always still the risk that someone could be out there, but if you're going at 2, 3 in the morning, you know, it's pretty safe.
Yeah.
I like to go to bed early, so. But no,
we got jobs.
It's just like, I don't care to go do it that much because I know I have a local track where it's sanctioned, it's safe, there's events, there's other people. Like, I don't want to be out in the middle of the night and have my car break down, or heaven forbid I go off an edge or crash the car and then I'm just stranded, you know? Mm-hmm. So I like to play it a little bit safer than I'd say most people.
We have had some instances where the car does break down.
It does
or
happen.
It's not running right. The first time I went to an event with him, the car was not running right. We could not figure it out.
It was like the tune wasn't on. And
the tires were at like 65 or 80 PSI. And then this next event I went with him, I didn't go the first day, I went the second day. And right as his parents got there, his fuel pump went out. Would not work, nothing. And like, the previous day, some guy crashes E36 and totaled it into the wall.
Oh, fuck.
And, like, trying to find a fuel pump for one of those cars is really bad. Or not really bad, really hard.
Yeah.
And so I'm, like, going around to every E36 owner trying to find a fuel pump. Mm-hmm. And then one guy's like, take it out of the wrecked E36.
Like, yeah.
And I was like, where is that guy? And he was like, oh, I think that's his friend. So I'm talking to him thinking it's the guy's friend, but it's the guy's car, and I'm asking to take parts off of his crashed car. And he finally was like, you know what, yeah, you can just take it. And so we took it off and just took like 15 minutes because he didn't have a rear seat. Mm-hmm. So we just took it out, put it in Riley's car, and we took Riley's old one so we can put it so he doesn't have a giant hole of gas in his car. And we put it in there, and then his car started right up, but the car breaks down. But the drift community is really cool.
That's really cool for him to just fucking let you take it. He's like, yeah, well, I mean, my car's fucking fucked up anyway.
Yeah,
so
well, there was a guy that I asked right before we got the one out of the car, and I asked him, and he was ready to go find a new one. Like, he thought he had a brand new one in his trailer, and he was going to pull it out and just give it to me. Mm-hmm. But he had one for an E90, and he drove an E36, and he's like, why do I have this in my trailer? Mm-hmm. But like, the drift community is so cool about that.
Yeah, everyone's always willing to help and make sure that you can get back out on track. Mm-hmm. Just because we all know, at least all of us that drive out there, we know how expensive it is to not only get the car there, but then to pay for the tires for the event, pay for the event fee, cover gas. If you are like paying, I don't know, some people pay like a team to be out there to help them. You know, it's mostly the bigger guys like
change their tires,
Jerry Drift,
stuff like that.
He has a whole crew behind him, and he has a big rig that has tons of spare parts and everything, so that they can get out there and just continue to test their car and make sure that it's good, because he's going for his pro license, I believe. So having a team, very expensive. Tires expensive, fuel's expensive, event fee's expensive. So we just want to make sure that everyone that's out there, if they have an issue or their car breaks down, we want to make sure that they can get back out and drive. So everyone's just so nice, and like, they'll give up their own driving time to make sure that you can get out there and drive with them. It's really, really cool.
That sounds really nice. I wanna be more part of that in the future. I think, what was I gonna say? Shit, I completely lost my train of thought. I was gonna say something, but I think I completely lost it. But One of my things on my little note is, were you ever worried about death?
Like
Oh.
driving?
Yeah,
Like drifting and stuff?
like were you ever like really worried about your kind of safety or like dying or like maybe not dying? I just kind of like was a little exaggerated, but
Sure.
I do remember that you told me that one time you were drifting and then your motor just went out and like your car went up in flames or some shit.
When you blew
Yeah.
the hole in your block,
Yeah,
2
so
holes.
so I've never really been worried about like super injuring myself or dying or anything, but
Mhm.
we are pushing the cars so hard that accidents can happen, stuff can fail, it can catch on fire, you can lose your car entirely, like
that
or you,
E36
yeah,
that
you can
crashed.
you can total your car, you can have it catch on
He still
fire,
had
whatever.
airbags and stuff that went off.
Yeah, and so I've never been like scared of that, but there's times where in my head I'm like, okay, like when the engine blew up, it was a fresh engine, rebuilt everything.
Oh my
1,000
god.
miles later,
Jesus
it
Christ.
let go and it shot a fireball out the hood. Stuff was smoking. Like I thought the car was on fire, so I jumped out, got my fire extinguisher, opened the hood, and it was fine. But I was ready
Mhm.
to at least save the car.
Was Morgan watching?
No, Morgan had actually gone home.
Oh.
Yeah,
shit.
she had just gotten home and
That's actually
and
kind
then
of a
it
good
blew
thing
up.
because she would have probably freaked out.
Probably.
Or were you guys dating at the time?
We weren't dating yet. That was kind of like our first official date kind of thing. So
okay.
that was really early on. But yeah, it's like stuff happens, but I'm never that nervous about my own safety. I'm worried more about the car because it has so much money into it, and it's hard to replicate and replace something like that. So
Damn. No, yeah, I understand, but at the same time, like, imagine caring more about a car than your health. Shit.
I mean,
I
I know
feel
I'll
that.
always
I
get
feel
out.
that.
So I'll always get out before the fire gets me. If I get in a wreck, I have a helmet, I have a seatbelt, I have like other safety equipment. So, and as time goes on, I'm just gonna get more. Like I'm gonna get a cage, I'm gonna have a Hans device, harnesses. Like I'll be ready for anything.
What's the cage for?
So the cage it reinforces the entire car,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to have it if we want to get into competition. At least at our local track. Some tracks they don't really care. You can do competition without a cage, but at least for us, we need to have one, and it has to have. I don't know the specifications exactly, but it has to have multiple points where it attaches to the chassis of the car.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be welded in, not bolted in. It has to have anti-intrusion bars, which they go down kind of by where your feet are. That way, if a car hits your wheel or hits that area and it dents in, it doesn't squish your feet.
Okay.
So the anti-intrusion bars are important. But overall, the cage is just there to protect you.
So is it
And-
like an exoskeleton type of deal?
It's like an exoskeleton, but it's inside.
Okay.
So-
it's like a regular skeleton.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you
It's
go.
a skeleton.
But
Okay.
it's just super strong. It's triangulated everywhere as much as it can be. So it's nice in a way because your car can take a hit and it won't completely destroy the cockpit of the car. Everything else is kind of replaceable, but the cockpit's hard to. If you like got sandwiched and folded in half, you can't really bend that back out.
No.
But a cage adds more structure to it.
I didn't know that. I thought, okay. So like the base of a car, you're saying is kind of like the chassis or whatever. You're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your chassis, it's strong, it's reinforced in places, but most chassis are just seam sealed together. They're not even welded. They just have glue holding a lot of parts together. So you get in a wreck and that stuff will just bend. The glue will fail and stuff will pop out. And like if you got T-boned, your car's gonna fold in where you got hit. But a cage at least helps alleviate that so that your car is still salvageable after the fact, and it protects the people inside. Obviously, that's the main point of it. But
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of reasons why you should have a cage.
And do you have like a would you get like another drift car in the future? You think or what?
I'd like to one get a turbo on my E36. Get that in the cage and everything so that it can be just a really solid all-around car. And then in the future, I would like to do something else. I don't know if I'm going to stray away from the E36. It's such a good car. But I definitely would like to do in the future a higher horsepower like competition build, which is what a lot of people do. They have like their first car, maybe they have a couple like really basic setup cars just to get seat time and be out and drive a lot. And then they'll build their competition car that's a lot more money invested, a lot more time invested. It costs a lot more to even like run and drive the car. So that's why people will have like a practice car, and then they'll have their pro car for actual competition.
How many like how much power would it like be considered for it to be like a pro car?
It depends on the series and like what events you're running.
Yeah.
I know some events people get away with cars that have 300, 350 horsepower, which in the grand scheme of things isn't a lot, but it's enough to get you by as long as you're a really good driver. But these days, most pro cars, like in Formula Drift and Pro Spec and other big series like that, there's a lot of them that are pushing 7, 8, 900, over 1,000 in some cases. Like they're
getting fast.
Yeah, they're fast.
Is that scary? Have you driven like a really high fucking?
No, I haven't. Like I've only drifted a couple of cars, and it's mine, and then it was a 335i, so it was a twin turbo, maybe 300 horsepower. Like I haven't driven anything super high horsepower, but
does it make it easier to try like do the corners and shit? Or is it
having more power helps one in speed, so if you need to catch up to somebody in front of you, it makes it easier. You can run a bigger tire and more grip out of the car, so that again you're faster. You can make those bigger corners. I'm not going to say it makes it easier to drive, but it can definitely help in certain circumstances. So like for example, in my current car, I only drive in second gear most of the time. If I put it in third gear, I don't have enough power to keep the wheels spinning. I need just that much more power to keep them spinning. So in these big competition cars, they might be using third, maybe fourth gear. They need the power behind it to keep those wheels spinning and to be able to make these really long, wide corners.
Damn.
So,
I didn't know that like people were drifting in fucking second gear. That's crazy.
Yeah, like you would think it looks like we're in third or fourth gear, but no, I'm just in second. But I'm on limiter.
He's limiter his whole last event. He was just limiter the whole time.
Yeah, that track wasn't big, but for the way my car is set up, it was pretty big. Like I really had to push the car to be able to do it.
I was very impressed with the car though. The handle, just limiter all day for 2 days straight.
Yeah, I built it right this time.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Oh, yeah, that was like one of my things that like if somebody that's watching by chance like wants to get into drifting or something, do you have like any advice so that they don't make so many mistakes when building their first drift car or when getting into drift car? Like just like any advice, any concepts, any?
Yeah, so I say this all the time. Start on a simulator. A simulator is way cheaper because you build it or you buy it, you set it up one time, and you're set for forever, it seems like.
That's
so like for a simulator, you can obviously you want to do it on a PC, so you're going to build a PC. You could do that for $500. Then you need the simulator. You can buy a decent belt-driven wheel from Thrustmaster or whatever. You can buy a decent simulator for another $500. So $1,000 all in. Now tell me, what car can you go buy that's rear-wheel drive, manual transmission, has enough power for $1,000 and have all the mods to be able to learn? Like that's impossible. So a simulator will get your foot in the door, get you started. You can build all the skill in your house. You don't have to buy tires. You don't have to pay for fuel. You don't have to pay for event fees. You're not drifting on the street where you can get pulled over and ticketed or go to jail. Like you're saving so much money. And you're still building the same skill. And that's something I still drive my simulator almost every day when I'm not at the track.
I think I saw this like meme, or it was like either, I don't know if you put it on your story or whatever, but it was something along the lines of when your friend who drifts
that was
on
me.
the fucking street or something. What was it?
I'm trying to remember what it was.
It's like your friend
on your story, and it was me drifting the clutch clickers track for the first time. Freaking out.
I don't know what
he had another one, and I started on the simulator, and I was maybe drifting for like an hour my first time.
Yeah.
And I put the track together, and he was recording me, and I didn't know. I was freaking out. and I go and drive on his simulator all the time too.
Yeah.
And it,
Shit.
yeah, like I've heard this and he's heard this. People who start on a car
Mm-hmm.
and then try and do the simulator
Yeah.
can't drive the simulator. But people who
Mhm.
drive the simulator are better at the car and can do the
Well,
simulator.
why is it that?
It comes down to, so if you think about it, if you start in a car, you're learning how your tires feel and how it feels to break traction.
Yeah.
You're learning like just how the car behaves.
Mhm.
You're getting a lot more like G-forces and that type of input on your body. So I don't know, there's a lot more like information that you can take in and use to learn. But if you start on a simulator, you don't get G-forces, you don't have the feeling in your butt, you know, like you're not in the car, you're just sitting at your desk or on your couch or whatever. So learning to drive really well in the simulator, you're using mostly visual, so your eyes, and then just the feel of your hands on the steering wheel. Because the steering wheel inputs are nearly identical to real life. They're very similar. So you're getting still some of the info that you'd get from a real car,
Yeah.
but you're using a lot more of your vision rather than just how you feel in the car. So then when you do transition to a real car, you already know where you should be looking, what you're looking for. You're getting those inputs that you don't gain as much from a real car, I guess.
Okay.
It's kind of hard to explain, but then when you get in the real car, then you start getting those other inputs and stuff that you can use to your advantage, and so you learn just way faster that way.
Mm. It's like easier. It's an easier transition, right?
Yeah, it's a lot easier to move from simulator to car than vice versa,
Mm-hmm.
because you're almost working backwards going from a car to a simulator. There are people that have done it, but I know I've talked to, he was a pro FD driver, Justin Pollock. He lives here in Utah, and I've had the opportunity to speak with him a few times, and he said that obviously he's a professional driver. He drives the craziest Mustang out there, and incredible, phenomenal driver, but he gets on a simulator and he can't drift at all.
Oh shit! What?
Yeah, like he said he struggles a lot with it because he doesn't have the G-force and like all these other things kind of helping him know what to do.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Damn.
No, simulators are awesome.
I want to get one.
You should. If you want to get into motors, any motorsports,
Yeah.
Yeah.
simulator.
Fuck yeah.
It's way cheaper. You still get not the same experience, but a lot similar experience, I would say.
What do you think of like the street racing scene besides takeovers? Because I know
Oh.
you hate takeovers.
Yeah, we can get into that later. But,
I know.
Street racing.
Because that's you're the drifter. I'm the sports bikes. You know, I go out at night.
Yeah. I would say like street racing, there's a time and a place. I like obviously take it to quote unquote Mexico.
Yeah.
Like go away from everybody.
Yeah.
To where again this brings me back to like the drifting on mountains and stuff at night. Go.
And I was gonna bring this up earlier while we were talking about
Okay.
that because it was like you're a sanctioned event. When you're drifting, you're doing it, you know, legally, safely, whatever. Like the safest you can
Yeah,
be
of
while
course,
drifting
of course,
car.
for sure.
But like
Fucking ambulances.
I
Right
go
there and
out
shit.
to Mexico at 3 a.m. and, you know, race the Corvettes and whatever and all that. And I don't know, it's not sanctioned, but like,
Yeah.
it's fun. We do it safely. Like I wear a helmet
Yeah,
and
like,
gloves.
like I would say there is a time and a place. It can be safe. It can be fun. It's just I don't like when, say, I'm cruising on the freeway home from a meet and then everyone just wants to race leaving the meet. Like this
I
happened
hate,
just
that's
the other
actually
day.
one thing I hate. Like cars and curry,
Yeah.
people just rip out of there, and that annoys me
Yes.
because it's gonna get the spot shut down. They don't. They're gonna ask us not to come back. Like,
It's true.
and
it's,
then
it's happened a bunch before
It
from other
does.
meets here.
and then you know they're just gonna start packing it with cops, and like obviously, you're going to a car meet. You don't want it to be packed with cops. Like the last time I was at Cars and Curry, there was one cop there, and people are just, boom, right next to him, leaving, peeling out, whatever. They see that, and they're just gonna pack that street with cops now, and like it's either gonna turn into just the cops ruining it and like coming in and just ticketing and blah 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 whatever, or they're just gonna say, hey, you guys can't have meets here anymore. And that's a fun meet. It's a nice place. It's a nice area. You can get food. Has multi levels, tons of parking,
Well,
but it's gonna get shut down.
here's something that a lot of people don't think about that I always have in the back of my mind. When people go out and they're street drifting, doing takeovers, street racing, just acting like fools around the general public, it puts a bad taste in their mouth to where it's harder for us now than it was a couple years ago to get spots to go have meets.
Yeah.
Like, people will see a group of modified cars in a parking lot or just cruising together, and instantly they're like, oh, they're up to no good, they're going to cause problems, I better get the police involved. And like, if you wanted to set up your own meet these days, you just have to go out in the middle of nowhere. You can't ask a company, hey, can I, host a little like private meetup in your parking lot? Like, I have a buddy, Steelix, on Instagram. He has a really nice STI. He is trying to plan a meet, and he talked to the guys at the Curry Pizza that Cars and Curry's held at, and they said, it's totally fine to have a meet here, but you have to have an officer on duty. Officers are expensive. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever looked into it. It's like, it can be a couple $1,000.
Yeah.
Really?
Or even just $1,000 even, just to pay the one officer to be there for a few hours. Like, their going rate is way higher than it should be, but you have to have them at meets now because there's just so much distaste.
Well, the reason it's so
brains.
expensive now, like, my dad's been an officer for, it'll be 20 years in April. But, like, he's done that before, and one time he went to an event, and there was 3 cops there, and they each made, I think it was $3,000 for 6 hours.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
And nothing happened. They just sat in their trucks. And, like, you really can't do anything as a police officer when people are peeling off and speeding away because 20 people just did it, and you're going to get that one guy.
Yeah.
Like, what are you realistically going to do? They're not going to chase you and endanger their own lives anymore. Like, I think the only place out here in Utah that will chase anymore is Highway Patrol. Cities aren't really allowed to chase in Utah. And so it's almost like, what are you paying the cop there to do now? Because they don't care. People don't care anymore.
I wonder if instead of paying them, there should be some different kind of system, because it just doesn't make sense. Like you're saying, it doesn't make sense to pay them thousands of dollars, literally. And realistically, they can't really do that much. Like, I was thinking maybe, like, instead, like, you could volunteer or something, like, to with the city, or kind of help, like, the city some way or whatever, kind of do like a trade-off, like speak to the city, be like, hey, can I have like this officer, or do like this private event where there's some security so I can like actually do it, but in exchange, I don't know, I can help you with some of your things, or I don't know, it's just...
Well, sometimes you can get away with, if you're doing it during normal, like, I mean, cops are always 24/7, but if you're doing it normal operating hours, like, let's say, like, 5 p.m. to 10 p.m., whatever the case is, you can, honestly, you can call the non-emergency number, and you can just look that up. Any city, every city has one. Has to be Monday through Friday, though. You call the non-emergency number, and you're like, hey, can we have a cop come sit on the street? Like, this is what's happening. And, like, 80% of the time, a cop will get there within about hour and a half, and just sit there and make sure, like, nothing violent happens. Because as long as there's nothing violent happening, the cops aren't really going to do anything. But that also takes us to, like, takeovers. Takeovers are violent.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's no like, oh, it's just drifting. Takeovers are violent. There's guns, there's lasers, there's people getting hit by cars. Like,
is this takeover is the one where they just
go into an intersection, they go wherever they want, they just take over the street.
That's
and it is awful. It gives, like, I'm in the street racing scene. It gives us a bad name because that's technically what they classified as a street racing. It gives even Riley drifting because that's what they're doing. It gives him a bad name.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, they're trying to drift. And, like, their rollbacks or whatever that you see on Instagram are them just spinning out and pretending like they meant to do it. Like, they aren't good drivers. They're endangering people. They're, like, burning down cars. Like, most of these cars in takeovers are stolen. And that's why they get burned down.
Oh, my God.
So, like, you see the burned down Corvette and Mustang at the takeover. I think it was in, like, South Carolina or somewhere on the East Coast.
Yeah.
But there was a Mustang and a Corvette that they crashed together, like, during a takeover, and they burned them down, and everyone just left because they were stolen, and that's all takeovers are. Stolen cars, people getting hit by the cars, like,
It's not even fun. It's just like straight up criminal activity.
No, that's all it really is. It's just like, but it's weird because it's hundreds of people just go to this intersection to get run over by some car.
It's just so much idiocracy in one spot. Like you
spread it out.
You have not only the people that are drifting and like running into each other and hitting people, but like you said, you have the crowd too that's trying to get in the middle of the pit, and it's like, what are you guys doing? Why are you running out into a crowd of cars going in circles and like not able to control themselves? They're gonna hit you.
If you really look at the videos, they are like throwing fireworks in people's cars.
Mm-hmm.
They are putting lasers in the driver's eyes. Like, it's just a dangerous activity. Like, I get what I'm doing is also dangerous, but that is like on a whole nother. The only person I'm endangering is myself. I'm not endangering the public. Takeovers that's all it is. You're just endangering hundreds of people in that confined space.
And it's like a mob.
Well, they're endangering themselves too for showing up, you know.
I mean, of course. And like cops can't do anything
about it.
Except
poor drivers that just happen to like be there on their way to work.
Well, and a cop can't really do anything about it because what is one or two cops going to do against, 100, 200 people?
Yeah. And
the only person they're after are the cars, and the people just block the road and the cars leave.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can really do. I don't know why takeovers started. I don't know why they're so popular.
It's just like the cancer of the car community.
Yeah, and it's really what like ruins it. I feel like because I can go to Mexico and drag race for an hour, go home.
Wait, like what are we, Mexico?
Mexico, down the street, Mexico.
Oh,
that's what we
down the so.
Okay.
Mexico is just like, cause you can't race in the States.
Mm-hmm.
You can't street race in the States, so you go to Mexico.
Oh, okay.
Low key.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it.
But so you go to Mexico, you race. Riley does sanctions, but the only person I'm endangering is my life. Everyone's safe at the track. There's barriers, everything else. You go to a takeover, and it's like, part of me wants to just go and watch, and then I'm like, but then I become
part of the.
I become part of that cancer. But I'm like, I want to see what it's about.
Want to see people get run over.
I repost that shit all the time.
It's so funny. It's so funny. Like, part of me wants to just go and, like, stand in the back of the crowd and be like, oh, that was really cool. But it's not cool. And it's honestly, like, something really bad that needs to be taken care of and under control. And that's something I think the, like, car community is actively trying to work on. Is a way to stop these without, like, hindering themselves.
I mean, I was gonna ask, one of my questions here is like, what's something that you don't like about the car community? Something that you do?
We were actually talking about that in the car.
Yeah.
Of like, people say respect all builds.
Yeah.
Oh.
I do not. I respect all builds. There's a couple that I'm like, hey, your 03 Camry ain't that cool, bud. But like, I don't know. That's kind of my take on it.
Respect all racers.
Yeah.
There's definitely like. I think there is a certain amount of respect you need to give everybody, just as a human being.
Yeah.
As someone in the car community, same thing. You should respect, like, if they've put time and effort into something, like, hey, that's cool. You're enjoying what you're doing. You're showing it off, whatever. But it's just certain. I don't even want to call them builds, but certain things that people bring out just should not be there. Like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna probably get hate for this if this gets out, but it's just like if your car is stock and you just have wheels and you're not even lowered, you're not like
I don't think it should come out.
I feel like you have to have a certain amount of modifications for your car to be considered a build.
Yeah,
we were talking
I don't know. I'm all for general public can come out to meets and stuff.
Yeah,
but don't park your car right in
the middle
where all the show cars are and where the VIPs are, or whatever. Like, take your car and move it just out of the way a little bit. Because people don't want to walk in the main entrance of some, like, nice car show or car meet that's going on and then just see, like, stock car. Like, we're going there for a reason. We want to see modified cars and how people are expressing themselves through their builds and stuff like that. So, I don't know. It's kind of hard.
It's also...
Just show up and park right in the middle.
Yeah, well, it's also, like...
I wouldn't do it.
Some car shows you have to pay to get in.
Yeah.
Right? Like, just as a person to go, look. Can you imagine walking into a car meet that you just paid, let's say, $15 or $20 to go look around at, and you have stock, Lord on wheels, stock. And like those people that built their cars have like 20, 30 grand into them are in the back because these stock cars got there a couple hours before them.
Fucking you at the expo, right? When you got in the back.
Where at?
With the E30, I think. Or the
You
E36.
went to the expo and you were just like in the back because there wasn't like a VIP section.
Yeah, I don't know. Like
I don't know. That might be.
we can talk about that real quick. So I've gone to Scrape Fest the last 2 years prior, and then this year again was my third year. The last 2 years it was at I think it's the Layton or Legacy Event Center up in Layton, and or maybe it's Farmington. I don't know. If you know, you know. That place was awesome. They have a huge indoor facility that was for like VIP cars only. Now I don't fit into that realm, but the people who did had to get approved. Their cars are super clean, super nice, like show cars. They're in there for a reason. So that's where the main show is. But then outside they had another parking lot for cars similar to mine. Like I brought my drift car both years. And it's cars that are modified. They're not quite like that high level that can be the VIP inside. But we had like our own section for kind of everybody else.
Yeah.
But you still had to, I think, apply to some extent to be in there. You had to pay for sure to get your car in that section, and it was like $25 or $30. So it's not a lot of money, but you know, if you want to be in there, you'll pay to be in there, and you probably have a car that deserves to be in there.
Yeah.
And then they had the general public, general admission parking lot elsewhere that probably had some more clean builds and like nice cars in there, but they just didn't want to pay to be in the show. Now, I like paying to be in the show because you have the chance at winning awards. You get to show off your build. You get to talk to like-minded enthusiasts. It's just cool. But this year, it was held at a different event center, the Mountain America Expo Center in Sandy, and all they had was the indoor and the general admission parking. Now, the indoor is a lot bigger at this event center, which is nice. There's more VIP cars to be in there.
Yeah.
But there wasn't anywhere for us like mid-tier builds or cars that like have a lot of money and are really nice but just not that quality.
Yeah.
And we were parking with the regular traffic, and there was no reason for anyone to go out and walk through the parking lot to see the regular builds, you know. So I wasn't a huge fan of that.
That would be cool though. Like if they had like a section in the parking lot, the expo center.
Yeah.
That was just for.
That's what I thought they were gonna do again, and they just didn't. Like they could have easily sectioned off half the parking lot or a third of the parking lot just for more show builds, more like clean cars and stuff. And even like if someone was just driving in with their general admission ticket, if someone was out there saying, "Oh, hey, you should come park in this area," I thought that would have been awesome. But they didn't even like give us a chance. It was either you pay a bunch of money and you register your car to get like accepted into the VIP indoor, or you don't. There was no in between this year, so I don't know. I hope they move back to that other style. I like that style of meet.
It'd be cool if they did. Maybe we gotta file a complaint. Scrape Fest.
Damn it, Scrape Fest.
Sick. Cool. So you're wrapping your E30, right?
I am, yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, I'm excited to see that.
Yeah. So my girlfriend and I, we both bought an E30 at around the same time, like a week apart. We had this idea, let's do a matching build, because we wanted to get into the show scene a little bit more, because all we had before was my drift car, and she has a WRX that she was daily driving. So we got these E30s, and we thought it'd be funny to do like a theme, because it's a little couples car idea. So we're doing Cosmo and Wanda. So she's wrapping her car green, I'm wrapping my car pink, because she doesn't like pink, and I do, so it worked out. But yeah, we're a little more than halfway through wrapping both cars, and those should be ready hopefully by the end of this month. We want to start taking them out to Cars and
Those
Coffee
fucking
and
clean.
Cars and Curry and all those.
He's wrapping it, and the fucking wrap looks sick as fuck.
I appreciate it. It's getting there.
Fucking sick. It's your first time wrapping, right?
It is, yeah. Like before this, I'd only wrapped the roof on my drift car, which a roof is a pretty simple panel. They're relatively flat, minimal like stretching and messing with the vinyl.
Yeah.
So they're considered easy. Whereas a full car, you've got all these different recesses and curvatures and lots more that you have to learn and mess around with.
Nice, sweet.
Yeah, we're we're each doing it independently, like not helping each other too much unless needed, but yeah, we're both learning a lot.
Fuck yeah, I respect you that, man. You guys are pushing yourselves and shit. And to what I saw last time, it was pretty good, and I'm excited to. Depends on when this video comes out. Maybe I'll like insert a picture if you send me one of how it's turning out.
Yeah, I can send you one.
It's
Viewers
turning
can
out
watch
really
my.
good.
Oh yeah.
It's getting there. I'm almost done.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wrap it up. Is there anything else that you guys would want to say to anybody who's watching? Who, I mean, they're usually like my friends right now. I'm still like building my channel, but if by any chance somebody who kind of wants to get in the car community or drifting, anything you wanna.
Definitely don't be afraid to go to a car show. Don't be afraid to go to car shows, go to meets, ask questions. Being like, we were talking about this, and we in quotations like, what classifies someone as a car person, and
Yeah.
it's all learning. Like, I want someone to ask me what kind of car that is, what engine does it have, instead of just saying, that's a cool car.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be embarrassed because you don't know. Like, I was a mechanic. I worked for Tesla. I worked for Honda. Like, I built motors. Like, I know a pretty good chunk of what I'm doing and know about cars.
Mm-hmm.
And I love when people ask questions. I don't care if it's a stupid question. Yeah, I'll laugh in my head, but I'll correct you
Mm-hmm.
and be like, no, it's this way. But, like, there's not a dumb question. That's really all it is. Don't be afraid. Like, a lot of people are kind of scared because it's like, oh, that car's really expensive. Like, I can't go near it. Go near it. Ask that person about their car. They want you to come near it. They want you to look at it. They bought it for that reason and themselves. But just don't be scared. I think that's my number one thing. Go up, ask questions. Yeah.
When I started, not like when I started, but like when I was younger and stuff, I kind of saw like the car community, and I saw everyone as like super intimidating, and they're like, oh, those are the cool kids or whatever.
Yeah, and
like super scary.
The reason I got into cars is because I was like failing school, and I was like, this is my only option.
Oh,
And
man.
it turned out really great for me. I got a great career now. Like, I don't work with cars anymore, but
Yeah.
I have a great career now, and it really worked out for me. And I met some great friends. I met Riley. I met just a ton of other people, though. But, I mean, I go and work on Riley's cars. I give him a bunch of my tools all the time. I'm like, hey, I'm not using this. Do you want it? But, no, like, it's super cool. Everyone's super friendly. The main point, just don't be scared. Like, you can go up to someone, ask them about their car, and then you will see just a big, bright smile on their face, and they will pop the hood for you. They'll let you sit in it. They'll let you rev it, do whatever. But that's my take. Don't be scared. Just dive in head first. There's no regrets in the car community. You mess up your car, your friends and you can rebuild it, whatever. It's just about having fun. So,
100%.
don't be scared.
My turn. I'd like to add on to what Trey said. Like, if you like a car, go up, find the owner, and tell them. Like, I love when I'm at a meet and someone says, wow, your car's really cool. And if it's a little kid, I am more than happy to let them sit in it. I've tried multiple times, and the kids are too scared, which I get. Like, they're young, they're 5, 6, 7 years old, whatever. But even if you're an adult and you want to sit in my drift car, like, come ask me, because I feel like I can speak for most people in the car scene and community, but we love when people are interested in our cars and they're asking questions, and we can just talk about our build and what we've done, because it's where most of our money and our time goes into. So, on top of that, I want to say, like, if anything that we said kind of pushes you away, you can kind of ignore it. Like, we're all nice people. The car scene is awesome. It's just, don't be one of the idiots doing takeovers and stuff like that. Like, be respectful of not only the people, but the environment and, like, the spaces that you're meeting at. Don't do burnouts and, like, rev a whole bunch. Like, it's not that cool. Like, it might seem cool in the moment, but no one's going to care after that. And honestly, most of the people I know, we're always like, oh, great.
Everyone's looking at you like you're a jackass. Like,
yeah, it's not cool to do rolling burnouts through a parking lot at a meet. It's not cool to speed and drive fast. Like, I've almost been hit a number of times going to a car meet, and it's not worth it. Because, one, you're going to total your car. You're going to total the other person's car. You're just going to make it bad for everyone and get stuff shut down, and then it's harder to host meets and harder to have get-togethers and stuff. Like, cars are, we're kind of on this like cusp of like, I don't know. You look at California and they're having trouble just being able to modify their cars. Some guys are having trouble with stock cars and cops pulling them over for stock exhausts and things like that.
California.
Nice.
But like I can see that Utah is heading that way.
Oh fuck.
Just over time if this keeps happening. So that's what I want to say is leave all that to a minimum and stop being an idiot.
I got one more thing back on what Riley said.
Yeah.
Be patient with cars.
Yeah.
Cars take a long time, especially if you're building it. Like, I think I've been back from work for like 3 or 4 weeks, and I've been in Riley's garage for probably about 3 of them. Just working on the cars. Everything takes time. It gets really frustrating, and there's some late nights, there's some bad moments, there's some great moments. But just always think about the end goal. Always have that vision in your head, because if you lose sight of that vision, you're going to lose all of your, what's it called? You're going to lose all hope in your build.
Mm-hmm.
Keep that vision in your head. Know that it's going to take time. Be patient. Don't lose that vision. That's the biggest thing that I kind of did with cars, is I lost my vision, and that's why I stopped working on them and building them.
Mm-hmm.
But I love cars. I love building and like fixing Riley's cars and everything. But I lost a vision for my own car. Like I had a truck, I had an RX-7, like I have a Civic that's pretty quick for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I lost my vision in building my truck. But it's really weird because I see Riley's vision in my own head, and that's what gives me motivation to go to his house every day, work on him, play on the Sims, whatever. Like I have a vision of his own car and his future, and I'm like, Riley, you better make me rich with that FD drifting. So
get friends like Trey. Trey's awesome. Trey helps me when I need it and doesn't ever leave me stranded. So I can always count on him to help me out if I need a second pair of hands or a second pair of eyes or whatever.
Yeah, it's
make cool friends like Trey.
I've always I don't know. Riley knows a lot about some things that I don't know about. Like, we'll be working on the car, and he'll be like, "Oh, isn't this what we're supposed to do?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it actually is." And it's like really shocking. Like, a lot of people will think just because he has experience, he knows everything he's talking about. No, like,
We're all learning.
we are all learning, and that's why I can consider myself as a car guy, is because I'm constantly learning. And that just goes for everything in life. If you're not learning, you're going to stay in one place. So always be constantly learning, always be patient, and be safe. Whether you're street racing, drifting, whatever, be safe, do it legally, but have fun.
If you go to Mexico, be safe.
Go to Mexico, be safe. Go to the Salt Flats. Salt Flats right now is a great place if you're going to race. There's no speed limit out there. There's not a lot of people. It's flat. It's open. Drive your course first. Know where you're going. Know what you're going to do. But be safe. Go out to the Salt Flats here in Utah. Yeah. Have fun. Be safe. Be patient.
Well, thank you to my viewers. Thank you for everyone watching. And thank you guys so much for being willing to come out here and, just talk a little bit about cars, talk a little bit about drifting and stuff. Really nice to kind of talk about it with you guys, and just glad that you guys were able to be here. And today we had brownies. I made those fucking brownies. They don't.
They're really good. No, they're really good. They're not too crunchy. Oh, they're not crunchy at all.
chewy?
They're like the chewy goo.
Yeah.
Oh,
I just baked it right before they got here. Didn't give it enough time to cool.
No,
It's
those
a
are
little
good.
weird.
No, they're perfect.
Yeah, and we got some chocolate milk. Fucking sick as hell. Thank you for watching.